Hello and welcome back to my channel, everyone. I'm Ben, and I'm here to talk to you guys about Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition. If you are new to the channel, I do a lot of uh, brainstorming and creations of subclasses, races, things like that for Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition. I figured I could use some of my knowledge of being a dungeon master for over 14 years now and kind of get you guys into what it is to be a dungeon master. I personally very much like it. I like being able to create a story and a scenario for the players and have them feel like they're in a world that they can change and interact with. And I love doing that. So I guess I'm pretty much born to be a dungeon master. I do like playing as well, but I literally almost never had the chance to do so, but that's fine. So, what I'm here to talk to you about today is not what it takes to be a dungeon master, because really anybody can do it. As long as you read the player's handbook and you read the dungeon master guide, that's pretty much it. You get the basis on how to do it. The dungeon master's guide even comes with some sample maps that you can just throw together. You don't even have to create anything on your own. There's so many books out there for campaign settings that you can just run right out of the book. You just need to have a knowledge of the rules and you're good to go. Um, so what I'm more going to talk about is what not to do. I have made mistakes. You're going to make them as well. We're all human. But hopefully, maybe watching this, you can avoid the same mistakes that I've made and have everything go a little bit smoother. So the first thing is, um, and I will say this multiple times, just because I really want to drive it home. You are the dungeon master to be the person who creates the fun. You're there to make the game fun. First and foremost, that's the whole point of Dungeons and Dragons. It's a game, right? So things might happen that you need to make a ruling, or a scenario happens and you're not sure what needs to go down. You should always rule on the side of fun. Now, what that means is if a player tries to do something that might seem impossible, sometimes you might let it slide, but sometimes you might have to buckle down and say, I'm sorry, you just can't do that. And it's up to you to figure out where that line is, whichever is more fun. Now, let me elaborate a little bit more. Say a player wants to use control water to force an opponent to drown of his own bodily fluids. Okay, you can't do that. You should always rule on the side of no for that, because should something that simple be allowed to happen, it can happen so many times that it breaks the game and ends up derailing it to the point where people don't want to play. Have you ever played a game and you use the cheat code to make the game easier? What ends up happening to that game after you've made it too easy? You get bored of it, right? So being too powerful is a bad thing in the long run. You might find it really cool in the moment, but you will get bored very easily. So it's your job to walk that line of what's difficult but not impossible. So you should always rule on the side of fun. Now, if it's something trivial and say they were going to die anyways, if the boss is at 1 hit point and there are 4 actions from the players before it goes back to that boss and someone wants to try and drown him with shape water, you know what? That sounds like a pretty fun end to a very climactic battle. Go ahead and let it happen that time. But specifically state that it is just the one time and let them have fun, because yeah, that's the whole point. Have fun, use creativity, but not in the way where it breaks the game. So I'll give you another specific example of a mistake that I made. Um, I was playing in a game, I was running a game, and one of the characters was a sorcerer, and they cast the spell Sleep. Now, they were fighting a very, very small amount of goblins. I think they even felled one or two of them, and there was just two or three left. But she rolled very, very well on the dice for sleep. And the way the sleep spell um, happens is you have to put hit dice of creatures to sleep. And if you still have your pool remaining, you have to keep going. So what ended up happening is um, the player put the goblins to sleep, but then also three of the party members because she had to keep going. So the only people that were left not sleeping was her and her in real life boyfriend. During the time that the other two or three characters, I can't remember how many I had at the time because a lot of people came in and left in that group, was while the other players were asleep, they raided the gold of those players, and I allowed them to do it, which I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have let that happen because, yeah, uh, I don't like it when players use the excuse, well, it's what my character would do. Yeah, it might be what your character would do, but it's not what you should do because now you're doing something at the expense of another player, which should not ever be allowed. You should never allow someone to take advantage of another player for their benefit because that is not fun. And as I stated earlier, and how I stated that I will repeat it, you are there to rule on the side of fun. And I didn't do that. And that game ended up escalating to a lot of hostility, and the group fell apart. And I hate to admit, but that was very late into my DMing career, and it shouldn't have happened. So I do feel bad about those players that were taken advantage of and had their gold stolen from them from someone that was right next to them. And they were the two players that were not metagamers too, which just made me feel even worse after reflection, because both of them did not question the amount of gold that they had on their character because they knew, yes, the player know that gold was taken from me, but my character wouldn't. And they stayed in character and didn't bring it up that their gold was taken. Plus, because she didn't even take all their gold, just some. So it was hard to notice. But that was an example of what you should not do in your games. Don't ever let a player take advantage of a situation at the expense of another player. Um, Looking back, what I think I would have done is said, look, I know you guys, character-wise, haven't known each other that long, so you don't have any allegiances, but I'm not going to allow you to take advantage of another player. So this is your warning. Please don't, you know, rob away the fun from one of your other players. We're all here to have a good game, okay? Steal from the goblins. Um, I could keep going, but I think I want to just hit home one thing with all of my videos. That way you have just one thing to focus on, and you're not bombarded with, oh, you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do this, and you should do this, and you should do this. I'm going to leave it at that. It was a long enough video. Um, So if you enjoyed this, please let me know. If you found any mistakes, or if you want to share your own experiences, please, I love to hear that information from you guys. So please feel free to write down in the comments below about maybe a time you had a difficult situation and what you would have done in hindsight to improve that, just so we can maybe get a community going of let's fix all the wrong things so that we can all do the right thing and just have fun. Um, So feel free to comment down below, like if you liked the video, if you thought it was useful information, dislike it if you didn't, and just let me know why you didn't like it in the comments below, and subscribe if you want to hear more. I hope you have a fantastic campaign, and your next session goes smoothly, and you have a fantastic time. Thanks for listening.